Hey folks, your OS reviews. You're watching our video unboxing and first impressions look at the Ticwatch 2, a very interesting Android OS powered smartwatch. This company is interesting because they're based in China, but they have investment by Google, and so the resulting product is a lot more polished than typical non-mainstream smartwatches in the same price range. It sells for under $190, and you can find it in the links down below, which makes it cheaper than competitors like the Apple Watch, for instance. And it's equally as compelling in many ways. You can think of it as a direct competitor to maybe Android Wear, but it's a bit more powerful in terms of its software and what it's able to do. It does feature an optical heart rate sensor, which means you can use it to record your continuous heart rate, also your PPG. It does feature a GPS chipset as well for sports activities. It has an OLED 1.4-inch round touchscreen display. And what's interesting about the Ticwatch 2 is there's also a sensor on the side that you can kind of tickle, and that acts as an optical crown for navigating through the UI if you don't want to cover up the screen. More importantly, Ticwear OS also has very advanced kind of voice search algorithms. So there's AI on board which helps you kind of search through the web as well as your contacts without having to type anything in or click on anything too much. So it's very optimized. In terms of hardware, we are talking about specifications very similar to something like Android Wear. It has a MediaTek MTK 20601 processor. There's Bluetooth, there's Wi-Fi, there's also 4 gigs of built-in memory, and the RAM is 512 megabytes, so very similar. It's also IP65 certified, which means that it is going to be resistant to water, in addition to going to the beach, getting it wet, maybe even taking a shower with it. It should still survive. Just like Android Wear smartwatches, though, like the Moto 360 from a few years ago, and the Apple Watch, of course, it is a pretty powerful smartwatch, and it's not going to have the best battery life compared to something like a Xiaomi Amaze Fitbit watch, for instance, which can last for a month. This thing will probably only last for about a day and a half if you are lucky. So you do have to charge it pretty regularly because it has powerful smartphone-like internals. It does feature magnetic wireless charging as another feature, though, which is pretty cool. And again, this company was pretty successful with their original product, and now they're coming out with some even newer watches, the S and G, which actually run on Android Wear instead of the proprietary Ticwatch OS that you see with this model. Packaging here pretty elegant. On top we have just the watch itself. Let's take a closer look at this in a second. Down below we have pouches for the user guide. Let's see what we have in here. There's just a pamphlet, and that's it. It says Ticwatch Time and Control. You can probably use this with either Android in addition to iOS. This talks about several gestures you can use to unlock the display. And since it's using OLED, it will have pretty generous viewing angles and good brightness as well, but it will be still fairly reflective, just like something like the Moto 360, for instance. All right, so in the second compartment, we have a charger. And that includes just a micro USB cable. But more importantly, there is that magnetic dock. So I believe it's just using Qi wireless charging, but you can see it's truly wireless, so that's pretty cool. And on the back, there's a rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around. There's the micro USB input. All right, so that's everything that you have in the packaging. Let's just take a look at the watch next. It's been pretty carefully wrapped. I wouldn't say that the Ticwatch 2 is necessarily as sports-oriented as something like the Xiaomi Amaze Fit Pace, in the sense that it has many kind of fitness tracking as well as sports activities and capabilities on board, but it's a very general use smartwatch with a wider kind of target demographic. In the same way that the Apple Watch and the Moto 360 are aimed for everyday consumers. Sports enthusiasts obviously can still find plenty of utility, but anyone can really pick it up and use it. Taking a look at the design first, what I like is that it's not too flashy or over the top. We have just a simple polycarbonate frame that feels rather durable and kind of a metal crown that curves gently with the tempered glass display. And on the side here, there's just a simple crown key. It's also not too thick or bulky. It actually seems to be reasonably lightweight, and that will probably be comfortable when you're wearing it. There are kind of adjustable and removable straps if you want to switch this out for a different design in the future. The back here features the Ticwatch logo, and this part is what looks like made out of ceramic in addition to plastic, so it seems like it will hold up pretty well. The optical heart rate sensor you can see is right there in the center. and right now it's powering up for the first time. On the side here, we have, again, that capacitive touch strip, which is that tickle strip. You can see that Android is starting, and it seems to be loading up everything. The watch band here is made out of a pretty durable silicone. It's a one-size-fit-all, and there's just some very simple accents on it. So overall, pretty elegant. The buckle here is made out of metal, so it does feel reasonably well constructed. To pair with the phone, tickle the side. So this is what you do. You can tickle it down to navigate. Alright, so I've downloaded the app on the phone, and the first time that you, of course, go into the app, you have to sign in with an account or create an account, and afterwards it's going to send you a notification code by email. You have to enter that code to then register the watch. So now I'm going to scan the QR code, and hopefully within a few seconds it should pair. Afterwards, it's going to ask you to select a language such as Chinese or English, and it will now be syncing some basic data over to the watch. So if there's any firmware updates, it's going to try to push it over at this time, in addition to some profile settings such as your height, your stride length, and your step goal, so that the watch now knows these things that you've entered when first setting up the app. So as we wait for the setup to finish, I'm going to do a quick size comparison between the Ticwatch 2 and some other smartwatches. So over here I have the Xiaomi Amaze Fit Pace. As you can see here, they're very similar in size. The Pace is actually slightly larger. It has a larger bezel, and it also has a curve or a lip at the bottom, whereas this is a true 360-degree screen, and it has smaller bezels, so it definitely looks better in my opinion. But this one does have a slightly lower price tag. Here we have the Amaze Fitbit, which is a bit more simple, and the Bip is still going to be the smallest fitness tracker because it has not as powerful internals and more simplified functionality. With that being said, again, this one does have a sharper display that's OLED as opposed to e-paper, which is longer battery performance, but at the same time, you will be having not as sharp or crisp quality from a visual perspective. So right now it seems to be loading, and it's going to tell me some tutorials about what to do. Watch faces specially catered for you. And we are done. So let's see, swipe left to get started. So let's swipe. And from here, it seems like it's going to go through a tutorial of what the gestures correspond to. Try swiping on the side for the tickle sensor. So maybe that will activate some type of, ability to scroll. That's right. You've seen the app. Swipe right to go back. So this goes back into the main screen. Swipe up to view notifications. And easy right, swipe down to return to the main page. Swipe right or say OK Tico for voice assistant. Let's just swipe over. And swipe right again to return to the watch face. Swipe down for quick cards. So this is going to be your notification shade for things like Wi-Fi, brightness settings, etc. Swipe up to return to the watch face again. And then long press to change the watch face. That gives us, again, quite a few options to pick from. And since this is fairly open source now, you can find a few other optional ones in the Play Store that you may want to download. All right, so let's just swipe back. That's pretty much it. It seems like the screen will go into this timeout mode to save on battery after about 3 seconds by default. And I can also put my palm over the display to kind of put it to sleep as well. It definitely seems actually pretty snappy and responsive. So everything does feel a little bit faster than other Android watches I've seen recently, which is a good thing. And again, you can take a look at your fitness data, etc. from this screen there. Notifications, and on the side we have again all our applications. So for instance, things like health, the dialer. Once I'm connected, I can place phone calls on here. Calendar, health, fitness, changing watch faces, weather. There is a MP3 music player, a voice recorder on here, so there's a microphone probably. Alarm clock, calculator, settings, and if we go into settings, let's see what we can do. There's network, power, gestures, and permissions. So for instance, if I go into network, maybe I can even set up a Wi-Fi account so that I can then be connected to the internet and then maybe push updates without having to be connected to my phone at all times. So it seems actually pretty responsive and snappy, again, on first impressions. It gets a little bit warm on the back, but not too bad. And again, this is what the simplified interface looks like, just to save on battery, so not as many moving elements on the screen. And before we end this video, I'm just going to show you guys quickly, I guess, what the app is like when I'm connected. So this is what it's like. The name of the watch is on the top. The battery status, as well as your fitness status, will be pushed after a few minutes. and there's also notifications and other things that you can update or turn on or off manually through this app. So pretty simple. Alright guys, so that's just been our video unboxing and first impressions look at the Ticwatch 2, what looks to be a very impressive and strong competitor to Android Wear watches if you want something unique and that's not, utterly mainstream. We'll be doing a lot more testing with this and coming out with a more complete review and comparison between this and the Amaze Fit Pace very soon, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.